With the conclusion of my first ever playthrough of Cuphead, as well as the release of the delicious last course, it got me thinking, which were the easiest and hardest bosses throughout my first ever run? So, why not rank them? Before we start, I just want to get some ground rules out real quick. This will all be single player. King Dice will have 2 rankings, one with his mini bosses and one without. This will all be on normal mode, and again, this is all my personal opinion, so feel free to disagree. And without further ado, let's get into it. Number 31, the pawns. Originally, I wasn't going to include the bosses, in quotation marks, from the King's Gauntlet, but looking back, they all have a lot of effort put into them, so I feel like they kind of deserve to be on this list. The pawns are very simple. Parry the heads. That's literally it. The headless pawns can be a little difficult to get around, especially because they fall so quickly, but overall, it's an easy fight, and especially with Miss Chalice where you can just dash into them, it's simple. You shouldn't have any problem with this. Number 30, Root Pack. I think it should come as no surprise that the literal tutorial boss is at the spot. I mean, the only reason he isn't lower is because he at least has 3 phases. First, this Mr. Potato looking ass who just requires you to jump and parry the worms. Second phase, he turns into a sad onion where you just have to simply dodge his tears. Again, really not hard at all. They're kind of fast, but you know, manageable. And then you run into this Hypno Carrot who just shoots simple beams and carrot missiles at you. Again, really easy boss. Shouldn't have too much trouble on this. It's the tutorial boss after all. Number 29, Goopy Le Grande. Goopy is often considered to be the easiest boss, and with good reason. He jumps in a simple pattern and occasionally throws a punch that's super easy to dodge. And then in his second phase, it's the exact same thing, except he overdoses on Doritos and is fat as fuck. And in the final phase, he turns into a gravestone, which makes it a little different. But then he just slams down every few seconds and you can just dash away. Overall, it's really easy. Dash, aim up, he's dead. Same old. Number 28, the Bishop. This is another King's Gauntlet boss where you just unlight the candles and go for a parry. The bells that he shoots out can get a little tricky, as well as the boss goes on, he gets faster and faster and more unpredictable. But overall, I mean, as long as you dash away, get those candles, I mean, it's a simple fight. This shouldn't be too hard. Number 27, the Queen. This is the final boss of the King's Gauntlet where you parry the cannons to do damage to her. She throws out some jewelry, however overall is really easy to dodge. And while it's difficult to aim the cannons, it's so easy to dodge most of her attacks they are not really going to get hit for the most part. I really like the creative idea of this boss, however considering that it's the last boss of the King's Gauntlet, I kinda wish it was a little bit more difficult personally. Number 26, King Dice. As we're just talking about King Dice without his mini bosses, this is a much easier fight. The level of difficulty can depend on how much HP you're able to build up during the fight, but overall it's not really too bad. Just parry the cards, and then yeah. Side note, in my first ever fight with him, I somehow glitched him, in quotation marks. I don't know if this always happens when using the chaser, but thought I'd mention that because that made it a little difficult to rank, but doing the fight again, I still found it not too much of a challenge. Number 25, Cagney Carnation. In his first phase, he shoots out seeds that grow into plants, as well as a boomerang looking thing that you can just simply jump over. In its second phase, it goes a little berserk, growing sharp teeth, as well as blocking off the bottom with some vines. I think this is one of those bosses that depends a lot on personal experience. Me personally, the first phase is a lot harder with all the seeds and stuff you have to dodge. But overall, it's not too bad in my opinion, especially once you get to the second phase, you're kind of just cruising the rest of the fight. Number 24, Hilda Berg. Our first plane level, and for me personally, I always find plane levels to be a lot harder, but that's just me. And boy does Hilda hit like a truck. She starts in her normal form where she just starts shooting some at you. And then when she goes into her second phase, she takes 3 different forms based off of the constellations. Taurus, which is a bull that just charges itself at you. Sagittarius, who shoots an arrow with some star projectiles around it, and then Gemini, who shoots a circle of beams around you, which all of them kind of come down to be in the right place at the right time. Not too difficult once you learn the patterns. And then in the third phase is when she becomes ridiculous. She becomes a moon that starts shooting UFOs, which require you to go small to dodge, and the stars also get in the way a lot, which can be difficult to get around. Especially doing damage with your ult because the stars often block it. Overall, she kind of comes down to knowing the patterns, which for a first time player are incredibly difficult. And I can tell you, first time playing against it, it was definitely a struggle, but once you learn the patterns, it just becomes so much easier. Number 23, Phantom Express. This boss includes a gimmick by controlling the central platform by parrying the little wheels on the side. In phase 1, he shoots some eyeballs out, ironically, that are just easily able to be killed just by shooting at them. In the second stage, the conductor comes out and slams his big old skeleton hands down, which are easily able to be dodged just by going left to right with the cart. And then in the third stage, these weird, honestly, I don't know, lollipop looking things come out that you just have to go into the left or right corner all the way to dodge. These things are weirdly hard to dodge, even knowing the gimmick, because there are still ghosts that are coming down that can hit your cart, but overall it's manageable. And then in the final stage, he becomes the train, and all you have to do is parry the tail. That opens up the heart, just shoot it down. He shoots some fire out of the heart, but overall it's really easy to dodge. Honestly, you might be surprised to see why this boss is so low, considering this is the last IL3 boss. The only reason I put him this low is mainly because he's a weird boss, but once you figure out all the gimmicks, it's kind of simple to deal with, and overall, compared to some of the other bosses on this list, he just really isn't that strong. Number 22, Sally Stageplay. Another IL3 boss, which honestly feels pretty good considering the rest of the bosses in this IL. In her first phase, she jumps up and throws down some fans, and then in her second phase, it's pretty much the same thing, except there are baby bottles and toy rat cars falling from the sky. Then in her third phase, she turns into a literal goddess, shooting down an array of weather conditions. However, the game literally tells you which one it's going to be, which makes dodging them in this phase so much easier. And then in her final phase, all you have to do is avoid her parasol and roses. For an IL3 boss, this is notably easier than the rest of the titans of the IL, which knowing them, I'll fucking take. Number 21, Ribby Croaks. This boss is really interesting to place, as on my first playthrough of the game, this boss was insanely difficult. However, playing through it again, it's one of those first try bosses for me. Anyways, they start by shooting out some fireflies and Hadoukens. And then in the second phase, Ribby rolls on the other side and claps out some weird Beyblade looking things. Yeah, I got nothing. Well, Croaks turns into a fan. This phase is all about control of your character. And then in the third phase, they digifuse into a slot machine where you have to parry the lever to get one of 3 different platforms. Honestly, the coins are what always seem to get me. I think my brain is just focusing on the boss and not noticing the golden coins coming from my face, but what do I know? I'm a dumbass. Number 20, the Rook. While sharpening his axe, he shoots out parryable heads and razor blades at you. You have to parry the heads back at him, and it's just a simple but creative boss fight. Number 19, the Knight. Parry the top of the knight's hair, and you're golden. Except the fact that this stupid fucking Fortnite playing, Roblox trolling, fatherless, no grass touching asshole is so much harder to hit than he seems. He'll fake you out and dash in at random times. However, realizing that the key is in his eyes make this fight so much easier, but it's still a pain in the fucking ass to fight. Number 18, Mortimer Freeze. Our first non-King's Gauntlet DLC boss, and tamer of whales, apparently. He shoots out some icicles and cards, which are all easy to dodge, and then he turns into a snow monster, shooting out some ice blocks out of a fridge, as well as firing spikes out of the ground. Once again, not really too hard to dodge. And then in its final stage, it turns into a giant snowflake, which honestly isn't too bad. The eyeball and the buckets and such can all be dashed through, and the hard part is really just trying to make sure you can stay on the 5 moving platforms. Number 17. The Howling Aces. Okay, now we're getting to a point where these bosses are truly starting to get difficult. In its first phase, she shoots out some tennis balls, some bone tattoos, and yarn balls from a cat. On my first run through in this game, I never noticed this, but depending on which side of the plane you stand on, you can actually move the plane from right to left. This first phase can be a little annoying, especially with those pesky tennis balls always seem to get in your way, but it's not too bad. In its second phase, some dogs with jetpacks surround you and shoot metal letters out, but its final stage is where things can become insane. The dog plane grabs your screen and shoots lasers at you. However, it can literally rotate the screen as well as altering your controls. Okay, now, this might just be my inner Smash player talking, but this boss was never too hard for me. The first 2 stages are manageable, and in its final stage, you can actually just tilt your head to the direction the screen rotates and easily play that way. Without this, I would put this boss much higher, but because of this, it's taking its landing here. Number 16. Chef Saltbaker. The final boss of the DLC, and a despicable chef he is indeed. He throws lemons, strawberries, dough, and salt all in just his first phase. Then he grabs you and 4 pepper shakers start to sneeze at you. However, damaging these will send them back flying at him. After this, he turns into a weird tornado thing, and finally, all you have to do is jump and parry his heart at the end. Now this boss looks pretty difficult, but keyword looks. In his first phase, most of the stuff he fires at you don't even come close to hitting you. And in his second phase, all you have to do is dodge the projectiles from the peppers and maybe the falling leaves. And then in its final phase, it's literally just jumping and parrying. I don't know. Overall, while he certainly isn't a pushover, he's definitely lackluster for the final boss of the DLC, difficulty-wise. Number 15. Moonshine Mob. An incredibly creative boss. In its first phase, a bug just kind of walks around and occasionally spawns some minion bugs. In its second phase, a ladybug dances around a gramophone, I think. It fires out some music notes that will turn red when you need to dodge. And then in its final stage, an anteater eats some bugs and spits them back out at you. Its tongue will occasionally come out and attack you, and it is pretty unpredictable, but overall it mostly stays out of your way. What's cool about this boss is there's actually a fake KO screen, which, if I got hit by this, you know I would be fucking raging. Number 14. Baroness Von Bon Bon. Similar to King Dice, her fight starts with you against 3 out of the 5 mini-bosses. Lord Godpacker, which just kind of flies around the stage. Same with Colonel Von Pop. Sergeant Gumbo Gumball, who just runs around firing some gumballs from the sky. Mufsky Chernikov, who just jumps up and down. And Sir Woffington III, who just kind of flies around and occasionally splitting up. Finally, the castle will start to crawl towards you, with the Baroness throwing her head down at you. The fight can depend a lot on the mini-bosses RNG, but with the right combination of bosses, this shouldn't be too bad. 13. Glumstone the Giant. A massive mountain giant with quite the plethora of friends. He has a cauldron that shoots out deadly purple gases, as well as geese, a bear, and some gnomes at the bottom that fire blasts at you. There was a whole lot going on in this first phase, but after he rips off his beard, we move to phase 2, where he weirdly plays with puppets. They pass a ball back and forth, as well as gnomes rapidly popping out of the ground. This boss has so many things going on that it really puts your multitasking to the test. Finally, he decides to eat you, and you go to the stomach and just platform the crocodile skulls. This boss can be very difficult due to the sheer amount of things going on. I mean, from the gnomes, to the gases, to the ball going back and forth. It's a lot to take in, and this truly is one of the harder ones of the DLC. 12. Cala Maria. I don't know why, but I only died like 3 times before beating her, and this is an Isle 3 boss. The first phase, she spits out some pirate ghosts, and then grabs a fire and thunderfish, with one shooting a homing projectile, and the other shooting some flames. Then there are some pufferfish that spawn, which aren't too difficult on their own, but when combined with the rest of her attacks can be pretty lethal. In her second phase, she gets zapped by eels, turning into Medusa, which allows her to turn you to stone while the eels are shooting bullet hell at you. However, this phase is pretty short, so you're not here for long. And then in her final phase, you're brought into a narrow coral reef with her turning you to stone and shooting some skulls at you. Bad timing can really fuck you up here, but with patience, this boss really isn't too tough. 11. Werner Werman. This little rat shoots out some scraps and bombs which leave fire trails. It then transitions into a bottle cap phase where you have to avoid Werner's fire as well as the spinning bottle caps. This phase is pretty tough because there isn't a way to predict which one is going to start spinning, along with Werner's flames and making sure to do damage all at the same time. It's a lot going on at once. Then Werner gets eaten in quotation marks and you fight I meant Cats and Wagon. Yeah, sure. This phase is really easy overall. Just make sure you take out the ghost as quickly as you can and know which side the paw is going to be coming, and you're good. Number 10. Esther Winchester, the final DLC boss on this list. This is a plane level that requires you to manage like 30 things at once. In just her first phase alone, you have to worry about snake oil, wanted posters, a vulture dropping dynamite, a massive fucking cactus, and a donkey that somehow gets wings and is able to fly that hurls spike balls at you. And that's just in the first phase alone. Then Esther gets a vacuum and begins to suck up money and gold that is then released in safes that shoot even more money and gold. Then Esther cooks herself into a sausage, hurling slabs of meat at you while there are hovering cans of sausage. Then in the final phase, Esther goes into a can that fires even more sausages and peppers. It's insane. I mean, even writing the script for this, I had to look back and see just how much shit you have to deal with during this fight. And that's why she is number 10. Number 9. Djimmi the Great. Oh, who would have guessed? Another plane level! This time with good old Will Smith. God, bro. This fight made me feel like Chris Rock getting slapped. In his first phase, Will has a chest which either has hell or mildly annoying projectiles. In its second phase, it turns into a side-scroller where you have to shoot the blocks with the faces on them. I don't know why, but the saws always seem to get me at the possible worst times ever, but that's just me. After this, he goes into a sarcophagus, shooting out mummies and planets which move in really weird patterns that are actually incredibly difficult to avoid. After this, there is a Cuphead puppet that fires tons of bullets, while his hat shoots as well. In his final form, he becomes massive, taking a note from Goopy. 3 pyramids surround Cuphead with the eyes opening up to shoot lasers. Now this is one fucking hell of a boss, but I've seen people put my man at number 1. Look, Will can slap the shit out of you, but once you kind of know what's happening and what's going on, you can mostly prepare yourself. And that's why he is here at 9th. Number 8. Captain Brineybeard. Oh boy, is there a lot of things going on in this fight. In his first phase, he just fires some orbs at you, which aren't too hard. However, there is a barrel at the top of the screen that never goes away. I can't tell you how many times I'm trying to dodge something, and this barrel just comes out of nowhere and kills me. It's so annoying to deal with. In his second phase, things really start to ramp up. Brineybeard starts to spawn creatures from the sea like a shark and a squid. The boat also starts to shoot cannonballs which are pretty hard to dodge because they just come at you so quickly. And then in his final phase, the boat goes Super Saiyan, shooting some orbs and a giant beam at you. And while all of this is happening, the barrel is still dropping down in you. There are literally points where you have to get hit. And it's all because of this stupid fucking barrel. And that docks him at 8th. Number 7. Wally Warbles. Man, I just gotta say, fuck this guy. I know he isn't the hardest fight or anything, but something about this bird is just telling me, hi, I'm a Bigfoot bitch! And of course this is another plane level. In his first phase, he shoots Yoshi eggs that explode with contact to the back of the screen. In his second phase, he turns into your average 9-year-old Fortnite kid and begins to spray and pray. These phases are both pretty easy to deal with, but oh my god, what the hell is that? In his third phase, he flies around the screen with an egg shield. And I don't know if it was just me, but this phase always seemed to take forever, and I don't know why. And then finally, well on his deathbed, you fight him and 2 of the doctors. Number 6, the devil. Well, the big man himself, the final boss of the main game, and the cause of, well, all of this. And boy is he tough. In his first phase, he has a plethora of attacks, including orbs, turning into a spider, a goat, a snake, and a stupid fucking imp, and that's just a few of them. Then you go into this underground area where his head is the size of the fucking screen. There are flaming chips, an axe which is much harder to dodge than it looks, and a parryable bomb that has a massive explosion hitbox. Then 2 platforms disappear and 2 imps start shooting skulls at the side. This phase has a lot of RNG in whether or not the chip is going to fall on the main platform or whichever platform you're standing on. But even then, there's still just so much happening in this phase. Then in the final phase, you're left with 1 platform where you have to parry his tears. Even with the final phase being by far the easiest out of all of them, due to the sheer amount of shit happening this whole fight, along with all the pressure, he is easily deserving of the 6th spot. Number 5, King Dice. We're now in the top 5, and this is where the bosses truly just become something different. We already covered King Dice, and covering all his mini-bosses would just take forever. So I'll just sum it up for you. The fight depends a lot on how much HP you can build up, and the bosses you fight in general. If you can make it to King Dice himself with about 2 HP, you should be good. I don't want to waste your time covering his mini-bosses when most of them just have a single attack. But overall, most of it comes down to a combination of luck and skill and beating his mini-bosses. And all of this combined leaves him at number 5. Number 4, Beppi the Clown. For me, this is the first boss that truly started to make me go insane. In his first phase, he is in a cart and will dash towards you while duck targets are moving at the top. These can get pretty annoying because you need to jump over Beppi, but these ducks can sometimes just be like, nope, and clip your ass. After this, he turns into a balloon, spawning dog-shaped ones. You also have to make sure you don't get hit by the roller coaster and the dummies on it. Then he jumps on a donkey, and there are one of 2 different forms. A zigzag version, and another one that just shoots from the top. Well, the yellow one isn't that bad. The green one is insanely hard to avoid. With the added bonus of the roller coaster still coming for you, it's actually insane. Finally, he turns into a chair swing, and the roller coaster starts to come at you at lightning speed while there are penguins that chuck baseballs at you. To be honest, I'm surprised more people don't have him higher. But with the ducks, the dogs, and the donkeys on top of the roller coaster, it's just so much all at once, riding him all the way to number 4. Number 3, Rumor Honeybottoms. You know, when I was younger, I used to be terrified of bees. If I saw one, I would run away faster than an altar server from a priest. But as I got older, I realized something. These things really aren't trying to hurt me, and I got over it. Until this bastard of a bee. In its first phase, a security bee places a bomb while workers are flying. This whole fight, you have to make sure to jump on the platforms as the honey is rising non-stop. In its second phase, Rumor comes out and spits out bullet bills, a weird sphere thing, and the dumbest fucking triangle ever. If you somehow survive all of that, she'll turn into a plane that shoots lock-on fists at you. And a saw that covers 99% of the screen. Not to mention, you have to be jumping on the platforms during all of this and making sure you're shooting down because she just spawns below you, because of course. This fight is just so annoying and put back a fear in me I thought I had left behind years ago, leaving her in 3rd. Well, here we are. Top 2. Now, if you've seen these videos before, you definitely know who these 2 are gonna be. The real question is, who is number 2? Well, if you watch the streams, I think you probably know this. So, number 2, Dr. Kahl's Robot. The final and hardest playing level in the game. And holy shit, this is pain. This puts everything you've learned about plane levels to the test. Multitasking, control of your plane, and knowing when and when not to go small. In its first phase, you have to destroy the antenna, gut, and chest. Personally, I found the best order to be the gut, chest, and then antenna, but that's just me. Once the heart is destroyed, his head will pop off, and you'll have to know when and when not you can damage him, because of these stupid fucking homing bombs. Then Dr. Eggman gets a Chaos Emerald and fires a billion small little energy blasts at you. These are already much harder than from the likes of Cala Maria and Wally. But they're also electric walls, and the game decides to put foregrounds to make it harder for you to see. All of this without saying that this phase is more than half the boss. I mean, who decided to be like, yeah, that's okay. For many people, this is their number one, and only rivaled by one. Number 1, the tutorial. Bro, this is bullshit. I literally can't make this stupid fucking jump. What the fuck? Number 1, Grim Matchstick. You know what? Fuck it. I've written a script for every single boss on this list, but I don't even think I need one for this spawn of hell. Let's give a little backstory. After the first Cuphead stream, I decided to make an alt account to play more, as I wasn't sure I was going to stream the rest of the game. I beat every boss and even some I had not done on stream. Until this dragon. I spent a whole, and I'm dead fucking serious, 7 hours off stream trying to beat this guy. I looked up guides, I did it on simple mode, and even after all of that, I couldn't beat him. When the second stream rolled around, I was confident and I ran through every single boss I had beaten. And then Grim came around. It took 2 full hours on stream to beat this guy. By far the longest it had taken for any boss on stream. I even had to channel the power of God and anime, which actually got the stream taken down sadly. But with all that, I don't think I have to explain why this guy is easily the hardest boss. With all that being said, I don't even think I have to explain his spot. First phase, Fireball, Eye Beams, Tail, all while platforming on the clouds, which unlike with Rumor, aren't consistent. Second phase, spits out fire spirits that jump at you. Sometimes they'll fake you out and go high. And in the final phase, he shoots at fire orbs that if broken, shoot more projectiles. Not to mention one turned into a literal flamethrower. This boss took years off my life that I'll never get back, and I'll have to live with that forever. And with all that being said, this easily makes him the number 1 hardest boss, in my opinion, which is right, in Cuphead. Yes! Oh, we did it! Oh my god, yes! Oh my gosh! Yes! Yes! Oh my god! The JoJo! Oh my god, dude, yes! Oh my god! Oh, let's go! Oh my god. And that's it. Thank you all so much for watching. I figured for those who just skipped to the end, I'd make it easy and put the tier list right here. I also realized I forgot to do the secret devil boss thing or whatever, but I just put him behind Cagney Carnation because, I mean, it's just a gimmick. I would also like to thank Nathaniel Bandy and Smools, as well as the musical Ghost for, well, the song you're listening to right now. All their links will be in the description, but most of all, thank you for making this game so much more special. Anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you feel like it and you kind of liked it. And let me know how fucking wrong I was. Otherwise, yeah, I will now go and touch some grass because holy shit, this video took way too long.